Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash episode 14 Battle Royale video. Careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. Low-key freak out for that post-credit scene at the end. Never going to think about Big Belly Burger the same way again. But there's a new round of the Flash Ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. So let's go. Top 10 WTF in comic book Easter eggs. There's so much to talk about. Normally I'd say Solabar is the MVP of the episode just in the way he took Grodd down. But we gotta say Earth 19 Flash, the Accelerated Man, MVP of the episode just for the brief appearance that he was on and that purple looking lightning. Hopefully he'll come back in the future. But here we go for real. Top 10. Flash does Valentine's Day, pancakes and all. So the thing about this is that today, at least in the United States, I don't know about worldwide, it's actually National Pancake Day. So it was just a bit of a funny moment of Barry going way overboard because he has the abilities of the Flash. So I got every single breakfast food you could possibly imagine. Just wanted to make it special. They think that they've defeated Grodd, so HR has completely decked out Star Labs. They have that funny moment with Harrison Wells from Earth 2 where he spits in the coffee, throws some shade, low-key calls HR a psychopath. Just being as grumpy as possible just so you see the juxtaposition and how different they are. So anytime they're on screen together, it's amazing. I feel like we need a Council of Reeds moment where they do an Orphan Black episode where it's all just a bunch of Harrison Wells from the multiverse with Tom Cavanaugh playing everybody, all trying to solve some problem in Star Labs. If you don't know what the Council of Reeds is, it's just a deep cut from the Fantastic Four comics where Mr. Fantastic from all the different universes band together to solve problems because he's one of, if not the smartest person at any given time on the Earth. Technically, he's not the smartest, but you get the idea. And they even did the same thing on Rick and Morty called the Council of Riggs. But it just shows you what an amazing actor Tom Cavanaugh is. I feel like the other actors do good jobs when they do Earth 2 versions of themselves. Like Caitlin's Earth 2 Killer Frost was a lot of fun, but Tom Cavanaugh is the master of alternate personalities. Just as Cisco's bemoaning the fact that he's going to be alone for the rest of his life, eternally friend-zoned, and Caitlin's like, oh, you know, Golden Glider, I think there was something there. She was kind of nice, even though I wouldn't have let you date her. Gypsy jumps through a portal and starts going to town on Team Flash, just shutting them down. It lets you know how powerful Cisco's gonna get pretty soon too. This is important for later, and this is the second time we've seen her disable a speedster, like basically block their ability to access the Speed Force. So like we saw that giant WTF post-credit scene with Savitar, they'll be really important for stopping Savitar. So just make a mental note of all the things that Gypsy does to shut down speedsters in this moment. But they throw her in prison and in no short order figure out what Grodd did. I mean, it was pretty easy to figure out. Like, she was sitting there like a total zombie when he was like, you'll open the breach, we'll take the army through. So you're like, okay, very clearly he's mind controlling her. So then they throw to the big reveal though, like, where is Grodd? We can't find him. Boom. Suddenly he's on the edge of the city with his army, ready to make war. It was a great reveal shot. Just like Grodd, always one step ahead. And it sort of starts Barry's line of thought where he starts to get really bummed out about never being able to make his victories stick. So we'll come back around to that in a second. But number 7, Cisco's new vibe gear. So because we have so many geniuses that are back under one roof now, they juice up Cisco's vibe gear, but let him know that it could melt his brain if he's not careful. Anytime they bring back some cool invention, you have to wonder when they're going to bring it back because it's like, okay, this is very clearly going to come in handy when we have a bigger battle later on. But it's all a trap. A lot of Star Wars references in this episode. Turns out number 6, Grodd manipulated Joe West into getting them here as a distraction so that he could grab the general, always one step ahead. And in this moment, they do try to get Gypsy back on the team, and they have that big Starkiller reference. So like I said, Star Wars references. The Luke Starkiller reference is just the original title of Star Wars. It was The Adventures of the Starkiller, the Star Wars Episode 1. So it was just part of George Lucas's original treatment for the Star Wars movies before he turned it into A New Hope. But in the context of the episode, it's just a funny wink at how things are different between dimensions. Like Weird Al is a philosopher on Earth 19, but he does parody songs on our Earth. So the real WTF though of this like big Grodd Joe twist is that he almost has him kill himself. I know a lot of you are like, what if Joe's the person that dies at the end of the season? I'm not expecting that. Like, there are a couple other more temporary characters that I think that they'll kill off, and that'll be the way that they get him off the show. But they do take you right to the edge. Like, he was not faking out. He was definitely going to have Joe kill himself. That's how hardcore Grodd is. So it all just feeds into that idea that Barry feels like none of his victories are going to stick. Grodd's always going to come back bigger and badder. So how does he defeat somebody? Number 5, Barry's moral dilemma. This is like the most classic comic book story ever. Hero feels like he's unable to make his victory stick, so maybe the good thing that will come because he does a bad thing will justify the bad thing. But in this case, it's like the worst thing you could do, killing someone else, which is hardcore against the Flash's ethos. He even references Oliver. Oliver kills people, and he seems like he's okay, but then Iris reminds him that no, he is totally not okay. He is way messed up in his head. That is the reason that Oliver very rarely smiles. Barry is totally not that person. Here's where I think they're bringing things back around to like the overarching Savitar plotline, the evil speedster story. So most of the evil speedsters on the TV show and in the comics didn't immediately start out being super evil. They were good people that wanted to do something good, but then for some reason they made the wrong choice, did something bad in the name of good, and it became the slippery slope to darkness. That's kind of a Reverse Flash thing, where he admires Barry Allen. He's like a Barry Allen fanboy before he became the Reverse Flash. But then he finds out that he's going to become a villain in the future, so it puts him on this slippery slope to becoming evil, and he becomes the Reverse Flash over time. But he didn't start out that way. So they might also do the same thing for Savitar. The first person to get speed, he probably didn't start out being super evil. Something happened that caused him to do something bad. Then eventually over time, he became the villain that we see on the show today. So this was like a really big plot point, even though it seemed like they brushed over it. Like Barry's like, okay, I'm not going to kill anybody. But I think this moral lesson will come back in the future. So number 4, the Flash disarms the nukes at super speed with his decoding abilities. It's just a brute force hack. Just got to keep going, keep going. I thought they were going to go a different direction with this because the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing over and over, expecting a different result. But in reality, I think it's just them telling Barry not to quit. Like, don't quit, just keep going, don't give up, even though it looks like everything's lost. So just a fun way to show off casual use of Speed Force powers. But number 2, Grodd versus Solovar, Battle Royale. So I feel like they tip the hat to this in the first part of the episode. They do a really good job of setting up big twists that are going to be happening later on, where Grodd told Barry the whole reason that he needed him is because he wasn't powerful enough himself to stop Solovar. I can't beat him in a fight. So after last week's episode, when they left Solovar alive, it's like, okay, well very clearly they're going to need him to stop Grodd because Barry can't stop Grodd by himself. So anytime something like that happens, just remember it for a future episode. Now this was like a 2-parter, so you had to know that he was going to come back just because they left him hanging. They're like, where did Solovar go? He was actually a pretty big character. But this is the same thing with the Savitar plotline too. Anytime something really big happens or the Flash learns some new trick, it usually comes back later. But there was no way that they were going to be able to defeat the Gorilla Army by themselves. For a minute, I did wonder if Earth-19 Flash was going to come help them out. But even with like 4 speedsters, it still probably wouldn't have worked. And they don't have Jay Garrick either. So speaking of which, I've also talked about the Earth-19 Flash a couple times. This is a new actor. It's not Eddie. It's not Robbie Amell. It's not someone we've seen before, but he's another Earth-19 person like Gypsy who tracks down breachers because Flashes can travel between dimensions just like Gypsy can. So think of him as the Red Baron version of the Flash, just because from the comics, the place where he comes from, their Earth is stuck in like World War I era. So that's why everybody looks like they're in World War I clothing. But really cool, and it was cool that he had a different color lightning. It just shows you that we'll see more of this throughout the season. Maybe we'll see some more versions of the Flash, but the rest of the season is mostly going to be dedicated to the Savitar plotline. So we'll see, but they teased him, so he's got to come back at some point. But the real big thing here that got me really crazy about next season, or even later this season, they don't have to wait that long, is that now Grodd is in Argus on Earth 1 with Lila. Who else is in Argus right now? Black Siren. So they are building themselves a new Suicide Squad. What would you guys think about the idea of a Grodd-led Suicide Squad? Would that not be the craziest thing ever? It would be amazing. They could do that for the 4-night crossover next year, where Grodd assembles like a crazy version of the Suicide Squad. And even Prometheus, if Oliver defeats him by the end of the season, they could throw him in Argus too. So you have Prometheus, Grodd, Black Siren. They're basically building themselves an injustice society. So freak out about that. But who knows, they might choose not to pursue that, but they just have a bunch of ace cards to play that they're sticking in their back pockets for the future. So at any given time, any of those people in Argus could break out and do something crazy. So speaking of crazy, number 1, Barry proposes to Iris. We'll freak out about that in a second. But the other part is that Wally sees Savitar. So there's just so much that happened in the final moments. 1, they are super fast going to Barry and Iris getting married. Who knows if that'll stick because she's going to die at the end of the season, or is she? I mean, really, do we actually think that they're going to kill Candace Patton off the show? There's no way they're going to do that. There'll be some big twist, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll get married at the end of the season. So they might just be engaged for like the next 3 seasons of the show. They're just telling you that they're going to get married at some point in the future. In the comics, there's a big Easter egg because the Savitar storyline picks up with Wally West thinking about proposing to Linda Park. Like, he's trying to figure it out. They really didn't actually get those characters married till like way later though. It was way after the Savitar arc. But the other part, Wally seeing Savitar. So he thinks that he saw him for real, but Barry thinks that he's hallucinating him. So Savitar says, I have my way to get back now. So Wally seems like he's going to be a big weakness for the team. So everybody's going to be freaking out about that next week. So everybody freak out about that in the comics. You'll never think about Big Belly Burger again the same way. Wally's going to have seizures every time somebody mentions Big Belly Burger. But what's going to happen later tonight is there's a brand new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer that's posting, so I'll get that up as fast as possible. Like, it's literally coming in the next hour as I'm posting this. So what I'll do is tomorrow morning, I'll do Flash trailer. There's no Legends of Tomorrow episode, but there is an Arrow episode, and there's no Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything like that. And if you guys are wondering about Legion, I'm actually not going to do another Legion video till after the finale airs, which is episode 8. So I'll just try to remind people in the next Marvel video that I post about that. But congratulations to last week's Flash Ring giveaway winner, Rafa Baker. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. There was a new round in this video, and I also have a Guardians giveaway that's going on, so I'll announce the winner when I post that Guardians trailer. So coming up in a little bit. While you wait for that, you can click here to learn all about next year's 4-night crossover, and you can click here for that Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.